Most people can probably order a cup of coffee in a second language, but like almost nobody can actually grieve in one. Welcome to today's deep dive. We are looking into the service model of Salud Mental Oklahoma. It's a bilingual mental health clinic in Oklahoma City, and our mission today is to figure out how they are radically dismantling two massive barriers to mental health care, which are language disconnects and wait times.
Yeah, because finding a therapist, often feels like trying to call the fire department while your house is literally on fire.
Right.
Only to be told to, leave a voicemail and maybe wait for a call back next Tuesday.
Right, which is just the worst feeling.
Totally. And the traditional medical system just relies so heavily on cues and wait times. And that can completely deflate the courage it took for you to even reach out in the first place.
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this, because this brings us to the very first hurdle, which is just getting an appointment. This clinic has a policy printed right on their site stating that there is no waiting list. Not now, not ever.
Wow, that's bold.
Right. Everyone who calls gets scheduled immediately, whether that's for generalized anxiety, depression, trauma, or family counseling. But, practically speaking, how is that even possible?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Because if a clinic gets a surge of, say, 50 calls in one day, someone is going to have to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Did the sources actually explain how they keep that promise without just completely burning out their therapists?
Well, so the sources don't really give us the nitty-gritty of their back-end scheduling algorithms, but they do emphasize this fundamental shift in priorities. And what's fascinating here is the clinical value they place on instant access.
Right, catching people when they actually need the help.
Exactly. Think about the reality of mental health. If someone is having a severe panic attack at 2 a.m, that is a critical window of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
By capturing that momentum and giving them immediate care, the clinic isn't just, managing a schedule. They're performing an active intervention to stop a crisis from deepening. They prioritize operational empathy over clinical convenience.
That makes a lot of sense. Getting someone into a room immediately definitely stops a crisis from escalating. But physical access is totally useless if there's an emotional wall the exact second you sit down.
Right, exactly.
Like if the therapist doesn't speak your language, you are still fundamentally locked out of care.
Yeah, and that goes right back to that really profound insight about grieving in a second language. The words you use for shame or for panic or, childhood trauma, those live in the language you grew up in.
Yeah.
And often clinics try to solve that language gap just by bringing in an interpreter.
Which, honestly, using an interpreter in therapy sounds a lot like playing the telephone game, but with your deepest trauma.
Oh, totally.
Having a third person in the room translating your words, it just ruins that vital therapeutic experience of being understood the exact second you speak.
It introduces this massive emotional lag. You end up spending your hour basically hunting for vocabulary instead of doing the actual clinical work.
Right.
And that is exactly why Salud Mental Oklahoma strictly avoids interpreters. They rely exclusively on directly bilingual therapists for Spanish and English, so that connection is just instantaneous.
Okay, so they remove the wait list and they remove the language barrier inside the session. But there's a third barrier, which is really just the sheer bureaucracy of getting set up in the first place.
Oh, yeah, the logistics. They can be just as daunting as the emotional hurdles. So they tackle this by offering telehealth across all 77 Oklahoma counties.
Wow, all of them.
Yeah, you literally just need to be physically in the state to get care. Plus, they accept major insurance plans, including Sooner Care, which is Oklahoma's Medicaid program, for both in-person and virtual visits.
The operational detail in the sources that really stood out the most to me, though, is how they handle multi-generational families.
Yeah, this part is brilliant.
It really is. They allow adult children to manage all the complex logistics, like the scheduling and the insurance verification, entirely in English. Meanwhile, their parents' actual therapy sessions run entirely in Spanish.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really explains why the traditional system fails so many marginalized groups. Historically, the medical system forces families to adapt to its rigid rules.
Yeah, like forcing them to fill out endless forms they don't understand.
Right. A Spanish-speaking parent might just abandon care simply because the intake paperwork is way too confusing. But by letting bilingual kids handle the English bureaucracy on the back end, the clinic isolates the parent from all that logistical stress.
So they can focus purely on the clinical work.
Exactly.
It really serves as a powerful blueprint for, frictionless, culturally competent mental health care. It just proves you don't actually have to choose between convenience and quality care in your native language.
It completely changes the entire expectation of what seeking help should look like.
It really does. So keeping that all in mind, I want to leave you this final question to ponder today. If this model of completely removing linguistic and logistical barriers were adopted across all fields of medicine, how much faster might our communities heal from historical and intergenerational trauma?